This week, I have the incredible Jamie Rawstone, one half of the Zac Jay Show. Well, formerly. Why did he leave?
We were sat in our house after filming like relentless, and I was like, Zac, what the fuck are we doing, man?
Why he decided to move all the way across the other side of the world to pursue a career in consulting, working with Codie Sanchez and Morning Brew and some huge clients over there.
And then I did it to the next client, and I was like, I'm a bit nervous, man. How much do I charge? Like, someone said 10. I was like, I'll go for 10. Yeah, cool. So I'm like, this is going all right.
And what are his views on the creator space as it currently stands?
YouTube as a platform, man, it is scary what they are doing. They've just invested $2 billion a year to buy the rights to have NFL play exclusively on YouTube TV.
Let's get into it with Jamie. Jamie, thank you very much, my friend, for coming on.
Thank you, man. I'm looking forward to talking, man.
It's been a hot minute. Why are you in Mexico? And for those who don't know, why did you leave the UK and go very far away?
Essentially, I wanted a break from YouTube. Set up a YouTube channel with Zac Allsop, who's been on here. And 3 years in, I was just like, man, I don't see myself doing this for 10 years whatsoever. I'll take a bit of a break. I'll go to Mexico. I'll take a 6-month break from the YouTube channel. I'll go to Mexico for 10 weeks. By the time I'm back, I'll have it all figured out. Probably start doing YouTube again. And that didn't happen. Left YouTube permanently. Oh, not permanently. I left that channel, the Zac Jay Show, and still live in Mexico 2 years later now. So, yeah.
And what's it been like? What was it like, that 6-month break? Why did that turn into now 2 years?
Man, I think there's like two ways to go at it. There's one which is like the life reason, and the other which is like more like the creator specific reason. The life reason was like, I was in entrepreneurship for like 8 years then, when I was like 25 when I left the YouTube channel. And like all of those years, I was just like trying to be successful. And I never really stepped back and asked myself why. The kind of like lazy answer that I slapped on top of that was like, I want to have an impact on people past myself. And I think YouTube is an amazing way to do that. And as I've kind of stepped away from actually creating content, that is still the reason that really, really drives me. But it was quite a lazily slapped on reason. I actually think the real reason is because I didn't feel enough inside. And I thought if I get all of these attributes, all of this like fame, success, whatever, more success than fame, but if I get that, I'll feel great. And man, it was during COVID and we were getting paid like $100,000 a year each, and the channel had done really, really well. We had probably like 700,000 subscribers then. We were sat in our house after filming like relentless, and I was like, Zac, what the fuck are we doing, man? And then my head just went a bit mad, man. I was just like, what are we doing? Just like everything that I'd geared up to for the previous 8 years of my life just didn't equal what I thought it would equal. And then I just got super confused, super lost. All of the content then felt like so hard to create, man. Like Zac would come to me with this amazing idea because he was like still super enthused by the channel, and I'd just be like, that is a good idea, yes. I fucking hate the idea of filming it. And we'd go to Wimbledon and we'd knock on millionaires' doors and ask to play, and the video worked well, and in that moment I was like, oh, this is going to be a banger. And I was like, I've got to be happy now, I'm on the court. And I just was not happy whatsoever, and like I just needed to kind of get away from that, get some perspective, kind of recalibrate what I was doing in the world, and that's where like a 6-month break came into it.
And I guess in a way probably one of the best things that happened to you was that low point, because it led to you then being like, right, A, I have to change, but B, I have to find a way to reset and figure out what I want. And that seems to be what's happened.
Yeah, definitely.
After, right?
And man, it was so scary at the time. But also I didn't know what else to do, because it just kind of like kept digging, getting into that.
How did you set yourself up? Like, because I think one thing that I'm really interested in you and in your journey, and obviously knowing this whole journey really for you since the beginning to now, is how you've been able to find happiness, fulfillment, and some level of like peace in your life where you didn't necessarily have that through what people assume is the high life of making content all the time. And you go to Mexico and you actually manage to find peace. And actually, I think there's something in that broadly around moving, changing. Like, what have you learned through that experience? Like, how has going there changed the way that you think and live?
Yeah, for me, something that was kind of difficult was I didn't want to use business and success as a tool to get me out of like my little slump that I was in, because that was kind of the thing that put me in it. It was like, once I get business success, then I won't be feeling bad. And so if when I was feeling bad, I didn't want to be like, right, let's work on a business that would get me really excited, which it still kind of did, especially after like 6 months of not doing business. But I actually found that really helped, to be honest. So I tried setting up a business with somewhat in the creator space, I was still like not in a very good space. I got way too anxious around setting that up. And then that essentially failed. But that was the first thing that like proper gave me energy.
So you say that that business failed. Like, what is the story of that business? What was the idea? Why
Yeah.
did it not work? What happened?
It's a funny one. Me and my mates kind of laugh about how shit of a concept it was, but I actually think the fundamentals were pretty sick. We may have spoke about, I probably will have rang you for advice then, but it was called Learn With Me. The concept was called Learn With Me. And it's the idea that creators have got loads and loads and loads of pent up demand, but they're very, very bad at monetizing it. So Ali Abdal launched the Part-Time YouTuber Academy cohort-based course in like 3 weeks. I spoke with him and Angus about how they created it, his general manager. And in 3 weeks, they went, right, we've got this idea. Let's do this cohort-based course and we'll launch it to our audience and we'll charge a few grand for it. And we'll only have 20 people in it first. They ended up taking on 370 people in 3 weeks and making like over 400 grand or something crazy like that. I can't remember the exact figures, but they made hundreds of thousands of pounds. And I was like, I've met Ali. He's an absolute productivity freak in the best way possible. Like he's got a book about it. That's like kind of what his life is around. Me and Zac were not productivity freaks, but we had a really, really strong audience. We just didn't have the capacity to sell them an amazing course because it takes a lot of effort to build an amazing course. So my idea was to go to an expert who doesn't necessarily have all that pent up demand, create an amazing course with that expert and then partner with the creator to sell it to their audience. But the key difference in that model was the creator would do the course alongside their audience. So the creator wouldn't be the teacher, which is time consuming and stuff like that. They just like learn from this expert that my company Learn With Me has crafted the course. So that was like the fundamentals of the core of the business. And I still think there's something there somewhere. When I was deciding what to do it on, I was in a bit, not the best headspace. So I was like, right, let's do it on appreciation. Let's do it on mindfulness and let's do it on happiness. And I was just like spitballing the idea with a friend. And he was like, I've seen loads of people make money with crypto and NFTs. And like, I want to know how to get into that. Just the fundamentals, not like the best way to get to 10K, but like learn the fundamentals to position yourself in that market. And I was like, yeah, good shout, without any real thinking or validation. That was going to be the first course, NFT Ivy League it was course. It was on NFTs. Fuck me, man. I did one tweet and I regretted it instantly.
What happened?
I was just like, one of the comments was just like, oh, failed YouTuber has become an NFT guru. I thought this was a scam or some shit. And I was like, oh my God, I actually think that's how I look. And the thing is, I kind of also wanted to do it on NFTs because I wanted to learn about NFTs as well. Like, I just wanted to know, is this thing bullshit or is it not? This is a good way to find out. Very, very quickly unraveled. That is not the space you really want to be in, especially selling courses. That failed. But then after that, I was like assessing, what do I do next? And I really said, right, my knowledge in YouTube is one of the best in the world. This information is very perishable, and if I don't act on this, this will be worth like 50% in a year's time. And so why don't I just stick with what I know? And then within 7 weeks, I'd signed like Codie Sanchez and Morning Brew, and was on more money than I was making with a YouTube channel. So that was kind of it was quite interesting how like actually being a bit more strategic with the next career move would just put me in a way better side.
I mean, that's it. You then, as you say, very quickly set up this consultancy business, right? Where you're taking your knowledge and your expertise in YouTube and you're bringing it out to other creators and other brands out there. And you signed two of the biggest brands, maybe obviously Morning Brew, very established at the time. Codie probably nowhere near as big as she is now. She's blown up over the last year, but still big, right?
Yeah.
Okay, how did you do that?
Yeah.
How did you sign both these clients?
Your man Joe, who's a producer, right? What is Joe? Is he a producer?
Yeah, producer, assistant, support. Yeah, he's amazing.
I didn't realise this. Yeah, really cool guy. We spoke on a video call and he was like, man, your tweet thread on how you did this helps me get this job. And I was like, man, that is fucking amazing to hear.
Did it?
Look at him nodding.
Yeah,
he's nodding.
Like,
So I quite like this. So what I did, and honestly, this is why I think we're living in one of the best times in the world to be alive, because anyone can do this shit. And yes, my background in YouTube and results really, really did help, but anyone can do this to get the foot in the door. I decided who's going to say yes, basically, and it's people that were already spending 10K a month on YouTube. So they had like that cost. They wanted to maximize that ROI from a cost point of view, but they also had huge dreams and aspirations. So they wanted to make millions and millions and millions on YouTube if they got it right. So I kind of see it as like a carrot and a stick. You've got the carrot, which is the reward, and the stick, which is the cost. And so I said, I narrowed it down to like 5 people who's spending 10K a month on YouTube and who's going to make millions if they get it right.
How did you tell that they were spending 10K a month? Did you just look at their channel and go, I see the output. You know how much things cost, right? You're like, okay, even editing costs, you're doing 10 videos a month. and they're costing 200, whatever it is, you know, it stacks up.
Like a team of 3, like, you know, they've got a main entrepreneur who's on there, whose time is already very, very expensive. You've got an editor, you've got a producer, and they're doing 1 video a week. That's like quite expensive, even from a time point of view, let alone cost. So yeah, it was mainly like that, yeah. And then Codie was the first on the list. Morning Brew was on there, a few other people.
Who else was on the list out of interest?
Tiago Forte was on the list. I believe Forbes was on the list.
Yeah.
Those were the only ones that never actually got back to me. But once I'd like narrowed it down to them, I said, right, I'm going to send them an in-depth report on what they can do to improve their YouTube channel. And I just sent like the cold DM to Codie. She got back within 2 hours, said, oh, this is amazing. Let's get on a call. We got on a call. I was like nervous, like how much to charge. I don't know. I'm living in Mexico. It's kind of cheap. I was like, $3,000 a month. Is that all right? She went, yep, cool. So there's a contract. I was like, fuck. And then I did it to the next client, and I was like, oh, I'm a bit nervous, man. How much do I charge? Like someone was
7?
like, someone said 7. Someone said 10. I was like, fuck it, I'll go for 10.
Yeah.
Say 10. Yeah, cool. So I'm like, fucking hell, this is going all right.
Codie.
So yeah, man, like that was the strategy of like 0 connections, just like writing them. Like it was quite a nice cold DM. It was, hello, I've got this expertise. I want to grow your channel in this way. Here's some free analysis, in brackets worth $1,200. Would love to talk, or something like that. And yeah, it worked really well.
You say that very casually about your DM and the way that breaks down, but there's a lot of thinking, and I know how your brain works, right? You've thought about that DM really well. How can people have success cold calling? Because that is a perfect way to do it. What is it in that DM that you think worked?
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack in that.
There's a book called Influence by Robert Cialdini, and that has quite a few of the points in, but it's like scarcity, I think urgency's in there, social proof. What
do those things mean tangibly?
So scarcity would be I could only take on 3 clients, and maybe I wouldn't leave that in because the message would get too long, but then I'd save it for the call. Social proof is like like
Ali with his we're only taking on 20 people.
Yeah, you see it all the time when you start like going through those things. But yeah, the social proof was one. Like Sean Pori, who runs My First Million, he like funded that NFT idea with like a free Ethereum with this little project thing that he did. Loose connection, your friend Sean Puri invested in my last project. Right. No, it's like,
I mean, technically he did.
Or like funded is the word I use, because invested, he didn't invest, but funded, he did. So I used that, adding the tangible value, which was like $1,200, which I did make up, but at the same time, everyone makes up the prices. So I didn't feel too bad about that.
But she came back in 2 hours.
Yeah, she came back instantly.
Yeah. And which isn't a surprise, because, you know, you get a lot of DMs. I get DMs about work stuff all the time. You ignore 99% of them.
It's crazy how bad people are at it, and it's so easy to do. Anyone can do it, yeah. Me and Zac actually did a video where we tried to get free chicken wings using theories of persuasion from this book. So if you want to learn the methods of this persuasion, you can watch that video, and we ended up with like 30 wings by the end of the day. It was kind of crazy. And that's the idea as well. If you add loads of value for free to someone, they naturally want to give something back.
We were talking about this just now, right? The more you give, the more you get.
Exactly, yeah.
Everything in life. And I think a lot of young people, especially now, there's maybe a culture of like you have to you're worth so much because you exist. In reality, the more you give, the more you justify any value that you want, but you have to give first.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. So reciprocity was one. This reciprocity one in that video was insane. I go into this shop and I give the woman working behind the chicken shop an ice cream, and then I come back 2 hours later and say, can I get some wings? Oh, I don't have any money on me. Can you sort me out? She's looking around to make sure her boss isn't there. She ends up, oh no, and when I give her the ice cream as well, she says, oh, I'm going to give it to my daughter. And I'm like, that is so sweet. That's so nice.
It's going to melt, no?
It is, but I think the daughter was in the back of the chicken shop.
Fine.
So yeah, she says that. I'm like, oh, that's very nice of you. She thought of lighting up her daughter straight away. I go back, ask for some free chicken wings. She pays.
Maybe that was her social proof.
What with what?
Her daughter being there.
Yeah, like I'm a nice person. Yeah, that could have been it. But check this, I've given her an ice cream. She ends up buying me wings using her own money out of this chicken shop salary. At the end of that, I get reciprocity. I'm going, Zac, we need to raise a 10 grand through this video.
We need to buy her a house.
We need to buy her a house. We need to go crazy. So, mate, that is a powerful one, yeah.
Have you learned, since going out on your own, right, and obviously, you know, going into this world of consulting, but also working with some absolute masters of personal branding and entrepreneurship, right, like Codie and Morning Brew and others. What are some of let's say, give me 3 lessons that you have learned personally, the things that stick out to you? Or is there one thing that, let's say, working with Codie Sanchez has taught you?
Yeah, the one that we spoke about before was energy efficiency, and I don't really see that anywhere, you know, like in blogs or, you know, even Twitter threads. I don't really see master your energy efficiency. I never see that. But that's something, yeah, I noticed about Codie. We did a 4-day conference in Miami. She was talking at the event. We filmed a video. We did a lot of YouTube strategy throughout those 4 days. And man, I was exhausted by the end of each day, and she was absolutely fine. I'm like, what is... And so, yeah, energy efficiency, I think, is it. And yeah, I said to Jordan as well, that I see this guy do so much different stuff, and he's always bare composed. Even at the Sidemen charity game, how many people were there? 62,000?
Yeah, 60,000.
60,000, the biggest event. I can't even imagine how much money, time, effort went into running that. And he comes up to me and he's like, oh, Jamie, let me know if I can help you with anything. Just look bare composed. So that's something that I want to improve, that I've noticed amongst those guys, the really high hitters, that, yeah, I can improve on. So
weirdly you say that. I've actually worked on that over the last 6 years, because I was in a place where I was quite anxious about things, overthinking things, and what I ended up learning, as you do, is that thinking is a complete depreciation of energy. And actually, the more you think, the more you have thoughts. Every thought you have is energy that's being produced, and actually that tires you out. Obviously, when you're a high thinking person, you're thinking about loads of different things, your brain's darting around all over the place, it's very easy to wear yourself out. And the bit for me that changed fundamentally was moving from being in my sort of frontal brain to being more in my limbic brain, actually moving into a almost a state of complete, I don't want to say the word flow because that's a bit cringe, but a state of not thinking about anything.
Yeah.
Basically never using my imagination. It sounds really weird, but never thinking, just existing.
Yeah, that's sick, man.
And actually, as a result, I think it's interesting you say that, because since I made that switch, I can do 100 times more things because I never get tired doing, because everything is a passive doing.
That is a huge unlock, man, and I think you articulated it very well. Yeah.
And I don't know, there must be some science behind that.
No, man, and it's interesting because I've done jiu-jitsu like 5 or 6 years now, and when you go, there's literally a name for it, and it's like the spazzy white belt. They come into the gym and they go fucking crazy, and energy efficiency in that is just like, you chill, you let them get tired, then you do it. And it's the same with boxing. If you start boxing, you see the person get so burnt out and tired after half a round.
But that's all because everything's in the brain, in the mind, right? They're thinking too much, and that's wearing them out.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
actually being able to move more instinctively and follow your instinct. It's the gut feeling piece, right? But follow your limbic brain, your sort of subconscious brain, that actually does the most amount of reasoning. When I learned that, you could be falling asleep listening to something, or, you could watch something and fall asleep, whatever it might be, and your brain will still take it in. You'll still soak up that information. When you realize how much that isn't maybe at the front of your mind, but is within your capacity, I started trusting that 100%. And when I did, everything seemed to work. Every decision was like a good decision.
Yeah, that's so
and everything
cool, man,
moved in the right way, because it was purely on instinct rather than me thinking, oh, well, what about this? What about this? What about this?
And did you set your foundations beforehand? Because I think that's quite important with that as well. Like, if you set your foundations and like almost guiding principles, they're like the roots that don't really move, but the thoughts move all the time. They're like the leaves. Yeah, a little bit of wind will move them. But yeah, if you've got foundation.
I think it helped me. I think because I was so anxious, and I had so many issues with just overthinking so much, and it was wearing me out. It was literally wearing me out. And I remember having one day where I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And at that point, I ended up learning and trying to focus on controlling the thoughts in my mind so that I could stop thinking. I wanted to stop thinking. I was like, I'm sick of having a voice in my head. I'm sick of just constant tormenting. And at that point, I ended up doing it and realizing, well, I'm quiet for the first time. And when I was quiet in my mind for the first time, I realized, like, this is a completely different life.
Yeah.
And it was funny. I remember walking out my flat at the time. It's been 2018, and I could see the green on the trees for the first time in my life.
That's sick.
And I'd never seen the green. I was like, I noticed the trees now.
Yeah.
I'd never noticed it in my entire life. And I think that was a big moment for me, where I was like, wow, slowing down and being quiet in my mind and learning how to move my thoughts away and be peaceful led to a completely different experience in the real world. So that was a few years ago now. So I think from then I was like, right, this is it. I'm not trusting myself anymore. I'm completely submitting to this. And it's been
cool, man.
Yeah. Is there anything else? So Codie specifically, right, watching her blow up, what's that been like for you? Obviously working with her as a consultant, especially at that kind of infancy of her explosion.
Yeah.
What's that been like to kind of watch?
Really, really interesting, man. She only created a channel like a year and a half ago, man. She's just the perfect example of how to use YouTube and how to do YouTube. And yeah, she's got the content side, which talks about buying businesses and accumulating wealth through kind of that angle, which was before her not talked about at all. But she's also got a product that has helped so many people like buy these businesses as well. And that product is $8,800. So she sells like 100 of them a month, which is like 900K a year, a month in revenue. So it's just run extremely profitably.
Never mind her businesses, by the way.
Yeah, never mind the 25 businesses she's got, the 5 or 10 million investment fund that she's got. That might even be more now. The podcast that she's launching, the book that she's launching, all the talks that she probably gets paid for. Like, she's just sick. I think YouTube is amazing for amplifying voice, but also amplifying profits. So yeah, what I say is YouTube is one of the best platforms in the world to maximize your purpose and profit, because I think she's a perfect example of it, of working in Wall Street. And these guys have got these insights that normal...
Is that where she worked?
That's where she worked before, like climbed her way up that greasy pole for like 10 years. And she's got these insights that this like, yeah, Wall Street have of buying these boring businesses because they're amazing for cash flow and they're undervalued, and going, hang on, why don't I do that myself? So she did, and accumulated 25 different businesses.
Was that through a fund or through her own money that she'd accumulated?
She started with her own money, and then she ended up raising a fund. But then going, right, okay, here's a platform called YouTube that reaches 2.1 billion people a month. I mean, that's my consultant voice speaking, not what she was thinking. But here's how can I spread this message so more people can get into this space? And that's what she did. And then now it's like, how can I actually build a product that helps them get into it further? And let's not just tell them about the opportunity, let's actually help them with the opportunity. And yeah, let's, you know, grow a huge audience. I think it's like 3 or 4 million across all platforms now, and build my bank account as well. And that's, you know, over 10 million a year. So she's just a really good example of how to like build a big platform, but build a huge bank account as a result. Because when me and Zac had 1 million subscribers, we were definitely not doing 1 million a month. So yeah.
But that's interesting, that point, right, around value and maybe also culture, because she's working in America, right, as well. There's a culture of entrepreneurship. People are way more hungry to make money and to be self-sufficient and independent, way more than they are in the UK, right? The UK does not have a culture of commercialization or a culture of entrepreneurship to anywhere close to the degree that in America they have, right? How can UK creators adapt that, bring that culture in?
I think the innings of being a creator is still very early. So I can't think of that many people before her that have done it. So I think her just leading the way will help. Even when Ali Abdaal uploaded a video of, I made 4 million last year, that was like a huge unlock to me. And I'm like, what are we doing wrong? And we were doing something wrong. We were focusing so much on content. And we, like many creators and aspiring creators, thought being a content creator was the business. And I think that is just not the way to go about it unless you want to be a Mr. Beast. And even him, being a content creator is not the business. He'll spend 3 million on a video and get 150K in AdSense back. His business is Feastables, which is not content in itself.
Now.
But
that's because of the fact that you're spending 3 million and making partly, right?
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Like you have to diversify in order to fund the content.
Yeah. But so many creators will say, once I've got 3 million subscribers, I'll be rich and I'll be famous and I'll be able to do what I want. And that's kind of what I thought, to be honest. We got to 1 million subscribers, and the demand of our attention and the finances that we had was so strong in the content space. I never had the capacity to step out and actually create a really good business as well. It's hard to do both. Yes Theory released a course, which was $300. They have 8 million subscribers, and they got so much hate from it. Ali Abdaal, with half the amount of subscribers, with 4 million subscribers, released a course for like $2,000. So it's nearly 10 times more expensive with half the amount of subscribers. And when he does that, everyone absolutely loves it. So people are really scared.
Why is that? Because I've got a view, but I'm interested for your
First of all, I think YouTube viewers are very entitled. I think that is a big, strong one. I think Yes Theory and the team behind that should have appreciated that and known it and navigated that differently. In sales, there's a thing called objection handling, and that's like knowing what the objection to buying this product is and highlighting that up front. And so you could just go through the comments of Yes Theory sales video, and see the objections. All of this information is out on the web for free already. I spoke with Angus Parker, Ali Abdaal's general manager, and he says, yeah, we know that's an objection. So we just say, by the way, guys, you can get all this
That's so interesting, right? So we do this.
Yeah.
Side Plus is a good example of this, right? Where we didn't intend to necessarily do that. It was just part of us trying to make sure that the value was good enough. I mean, instinctively maybe knew it, but I didn't know there was a whole theory around it. There's a theory for everything.
Yeah.
But the objection idea where we said, okay, well, what are all of the different things which people will criticize, and how do we make sure that the value proposition is so good that they can't?
Yeah.
Or that there's an answer back for any of those objections that is so strong that in the Twitter comment section, people will be defending it, which they did.
Yeah. Ali Abdaal also has never done a video purely to sell on his channel. Yesterday, his whole video was on why you should buy this course.
Do you think they could have done better?
Way better, man. They could have like hinted at it in videos, but then said, check out our newsletter if you're interested in this thing.
Filtered the audience.
So you're not
That's
selling
really
to 100%.
important. I think it's very easy to look at numbers on a screen and say, well, 1 million followers over here, or 1 million subscribers over here, is the same as 1 million subscribers over here. And actually, Ali's audience came to him for a specific value proposition, right? In terms of the way he transitioned over. Yes Theories came for entertainment. Ali's audience came for value.
Yeah.
And therefore, Yes Theory has to do a much greater amount of work to drill down where the value conversion can be in their audience, because most people are there to enjoy the content and to feel inspired, not to necessarily pay for something.
And again, like I don't think it's too difficult for them to say, look guys, if you are interested in this, go here. And that's when you've got a separate video that isn't on your channel for everyone, and it says, look guys, we're looking for people who are really, really passionate about editing, and they want to up their game using the skills that we've learned over 6 years creating videos and living our dreams. In this, you're going to learn X, Y, Z. It's not for you if X, it is for you if Y. And that's it. Y, if it's not for you, if you're in the Y category, you don't hate them because they've simply created a product that isn't for you and you've been upfront, as opposed to thinking, this guy is trying to sell me something, or this guy's trying to sell me something. So
how do you view the content landscape today? Bit of a jump, but what's your view on the whole game right now?
Very interesting is what I'd say. YouTube as a platform, man, it is scary what they are doing. I think sports, no one talks about sports on YouTube as a platform. They've just invested $2 billion a year to buy the rights to have NFL play exclusively on YouTube TV. I think that's going to be absolutely insane. You know how people watch sports and then use Twitch to look at their favorite commentary person? Now that's going to be embedded in YouTube. I think how people consume sports has not really been changed that much ever since it went on TV in the first place. YouTube is going to create a completely social first way of doing it, with polls, with their favorite creators reacting to it. That's sports. You've got YouTube shopping. The amount of content that goes around products that could be sold directly through YouTube as a platform is absolutely insane. It's hundreds of billions of views every single year. So I think there's a really interesting thing there. YouTube TV is the fastest growing screen for YouTube. I think there's YouTube reaches more screens now than HBO, than Netflix, all of that. I think this is really, really interesting because it's so much harder for Netflix and HBO to create YouTube's model of having all these creators on their platform, but it's so much easier for YouTube to, instead of to put 2 billion up, or 100 million to commission a show like Netflix and HBO are doing, but just have it on YouTube, because the only real unique selling point there is the money that's going into the show, which YouTube can definitely match, and the viewer watching habits. And if YouTube's smashing it on TV, they can replicate. If they've got more eyeballs on the TV screen, then they can start doing that. So yeah, man, I think they can start chomping up those. And then you've got channel memberships, which is taking on 10 billion Patreon. It's a crazy platform. Obviously, you've got shorts, podcast. Yeah, man, I'm super fucking excited about it. Yeah,
I can tell.
Yeah.
What's your view on TikTok?
To be honest, I've never really delved too down that rabbit hole of TikTok. Like when I was a creator with Zac and that was really popping off, I was kind of in my depressed state. So I was like, oh man, it's going to destroy YouTube. I don't want to create TikTok. Like I didn't sign up to be a creator to do these dances, and we did those dances. It was so annoying. But yeah, I think it's really interesting, the relationship with YouTube Shorts. I'd be more intrigued to know your thoughts, to be honest, because I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think from a creative perspective, I've talked about this a bit on Colin Samir, but I was saying that, and I believe it, that it's completely depreciated the value of a creator in terms of at the top end. And actually what you've got now is a huge working class of creators who basically make no money because there's so many, and brands have funneled so much of their money into TikTok and into short form, and short form dominates consumption habits now so much more than it did. It's taken such a slice of that pie to the point where TikTok is now obviously number one app in the country, in this country anyway, and obviously I think one of the number one apps in America, and has been fluctuated up and down that chart, and it takes so many hours of our time, but that means that you're competing against everybody else who's also vying for that attention. There's so many creators. Therefore, like with any currency, the more supply, the less demand, the less value in that currency.
Yeah.
And as such, I think creators are really in a tricky position. What
Yeah.
it does mean is that for those who can leverage TikTok's awareness hack, which is that you can reach audience on scale and funnel that in through personalities that are brilliant and value adding, of course, like a Codie, great example, Alex Hormozi, great example. There are many, but for many out there, it's a really tough time. I think entertainment is probably the hardest category to be a creator in today.
Yeah, I think the real missing piece with yesterday's creators are how to monetize correctly.
Yeah.
So there's an account that I follow on Instagram called the Boxing Brothers, and they're exploding, man. And it's all about how to do feints with your feet, and to do feints with your hands, how to slip jabs and all that stuff. And they've really blown up because it's really creative. But if you go on their bio, it's like the 3 steps of how to throw a jab, and that's like a free gift. But then I think there's also like a course in there as well of like how to improve, or maybe a community. But I think for them, the old way for them to blow up is just grind it out for years on YouTube. Now they can just come up with a viral format around what they're really passionate about, which is amazing. They're going to get so much exposure. But the key thing that they need to get right from day 1 instead of day 3, 4, 5, like the old creators, like Mr. Beast, grow 100 million subscribers, then monetize.
Yeah.
You need to
monetize from day 1.
Monetize from day 1,
100%.
yeah, because you never know which video is going to go viral. And man, this is why Codie smashed it as well. I see so many business owners crave 10,000 views on their product or on their webinar. YouTubers have got this huge attention, just loads and loads of attention that can be funneled into products and services, and they're very bad at doing it. So yeah, if you can get that straight away, as long as that's tied with a product, man,
I think you're
it's
absolutely
a
right. And I think it's having, I think people want to know what they're buying, and this is the thing with Yes Theory getting flack, or many creators. Obviously Zoella was an early victim of this, but she had that experience with that advent calendar. She got rinsed for it, because you want to know what you're buying. When people subscribe or they follow somebody, they follow them because of what they're being sold. And therefore, if you're selling basically someone being very genuine and honest, and someone's personality and their life, and then that turns into a commercial relationship, or it turns into a commercial proposal, that's a really difficult switch to make if you've never done that before. However, if you go in from day 1 and be like, oh, okay, I'm following this person, they provide a ton of value, but they also have something that's paid, they also have something that's commercial, it's not for me, but it's there, I'm fine with that, I'm still going to follow, then you're not going to be disappointed when they start charging for things, or when they start providing products and value.
And I also think from a sales point of view, it's not outcome driven. The products that they're selling aren't outcome driven. They are coming at it from like, how do I get an extra bit of cash, really? And they know they're not monetizing well, so they just try and monetize. But I think as long as it's like really outcome driven, it's fine. It
was our thing with Surplus, again, I come back to that, but we were so stressed in a healthy way about making sure the value was perfectly nailed. And we wouldn't have launched it if it wasn't bang on. To the point where everyone was like, yep, I pay for it. And if you really part for it, really cynically, you sit there and go, would I pay for this? Am I getting value? Then other people will too. I have some cards, and I want you to tell me what's on it, read it out, and then tell me what comes to your mind.
Is a degree worth it? Why not to go to university? And the degrees that pay off the least.
Is a degree worth it, Jamie?
For creators and entrepreneurial types, I would say no.
Agreed.
I think it gives you 3 years to procrastinate, and also like outsource your control to someone else who will give you a piece of paper that will give you a grade that then you can use to hope for a job somewhere.
And can you use it?
You can use it, yeah, but I mean, no one. You
use it?
You can
as
use
a
it,
creative.
Not in this space. No one's ever
in this
asked
world.
Me,
can you use it? Honestly, if I'm a creative,
I'm genuinely struggling to think of how you could use it.
I always come back to liberal arts because it's probably the worst degree. But let's say I studied liberal arts, and I'm a creative, and I want to go into an ad agency. Is my degree really going to help me?
No.
There are courses out there now that are way cheaper, and that's, I guess, also the value point with doing these courses. People are spending, because it doesn't feel like it's their money, so they don't think they're spending it, but they are. 30 grand on 30 plus grand more if you add all the expenses on a degree. What are you getting back? Doing Codie's course, let's say, if you really wanted to, let's say, acquire businesses and get into that space, you need a bit of capital to do it, of course. But how much more are you going to get back from that?
Yeah, especially if you know what you want to do, and if you don't know what you want to do, maybe it's a community, but it's not necessarily just courses as well, but it's that networking. You can create that yourself.
100%. Right. Oh, funnily enough.
Oh yeah, this is it. This is the message that I sent her. Yeah. So
What was it?
Hi Codie, I've written up a 3-page analysis on how you can get more views and subscribers based on your last video, completely for free, worth $1,200. I ran one of the fastest growing YouTube channels in the UK, so I think that was authority, which is in the book, I think you could have one of the most successful YouTube channels on the planet, and that was just like playing up to ego, I guess. Like that's like the big dreams. I know entrepreneurs
Make them feel special.
Exactly. You can view the document here. So it's very, very punchy. Every sentence is like
great.
delivering.
I'd say yes to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Who wouldn't?
Sign me up, lad.
That's
let me know if you have your questions. Your friend Sean, love the ideas I sent to him after funding my last project. So that was the social proofing at the end. But yeah, there's like 4 or 5 sentences there.
Smashed it. Right, next one.
Oh man, this Nelk just did this video yesterday, and it's faking a model to the top of Fashion Week. Exactly the same title, worst thumbnail. I don't think a video in 6 years, which is how long I've been in YouTube, has had more of an impact on UK YouTube. Max Fosh is now one of the biggest creators in the UK. Same with Zac, and he had 1,000 subscribers when we did that video. We had 55,000, and yeah, that's a big video.
It's a big video.
32 million views now.
Remember that? Max had 1,000 subs when that came out.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah. What was your best memory about doing that one?
I think an interesting memory was when we came back after the first day saying, I don't think we've got a good enough video there. Like, we didn't think it was good enough to release.
The edit?
Yeah, the edit. We went back for day 2, and yeah, we added some effects, and it banged.
There you go. Right.
Oh, man, that was sick. This was when we did 4 days in the US on the longest bus ride in the world, or in the US. We went from Florida to Seattle. It was like 4 or 5 different time zones. When we got on in Florida, it was absolutely boiling. When like so many different stops was just absolutely freezing, like the complete opposite climate. It was so weird. But that video I dreaded the most, and it was actually one of my favorites. It was really,
Why
really
did you dread it?
Because, man, it was 4 days on a bus. That sounds horrendous, man. Like literally 72 hours or something like that. It was, yeah. So but it was sick, like getting that headspace, traveling, having those conversations with Matt, Zac, Tiddy, was cool.
Thank you for playing.
Thank you, man. That was cool.
Right. So my last question for you is, to the you that was depressed and really struggling with life, purpose, happiness, etc., what would be your advice to that person in 2020, looking back now?
I'd say there are always options. I'd say, like, break down your decisions so you're not doing it in huge chunks, you're doing it in tiny little nibbles. And I'd also say, like, it will pass as well. Like, I'd say that the storm isn't as strong as it seems, and it will pass.
Love it. I think that's a good place to end. Jamie, thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you, man. And by the way, I'd just like to say, Jordan, man, we've known each other for like 5 years since we set up the YouTube channel, me and Zac, and I've loved seeing your journey. You've absolutely killed it. And
thank you, man.
Just looking at what you're doing with the Sidemen and how you do it as well, it's really, really cool to see. So, yeah, man, I appreciate it,
bro. Appreciate it, and I appreciate you. Thank you very much. So there we have it. That is Jamie, and what an episode that was. I was so grateful to sit down with him while he's here in the UK for this short little window of time. It was amazing to talk about how he has achieved so much success all the way across the other side of the world in Mexico, and how he's done it having faced so many challenges with himself. I think that's the real story of Jamie, is a battle with himself, with anxiety, with depression, with purpose. And he seems like he's on his path to reconciling those things. So thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Unboxed. Hope you loved it. Make sure to like the episode, leave a comment below, and subscribe for more. We'll be back next week.